So there are basically two ideas about user-proofing your code or error handling. And the first idea is called look before you leap. And look before you leap asks the question, how can I prevent errors before they happen? Now, we've done a little bit of this, right? Like checking to see if something's numeric that a user enters before we add it to another number, something like that. This is checking before you do whatever you do that's going to cause the error, like adding two things together. It's checking before you do that to see if it's going to cause an error or not. And that way you can catch an error before it even happens. So a way this might look, right, is let's say we're having the user enter a number. And we're going to take whatever that string is that they enter, hopefully it's a digit or a set of digits, and we are going to convert that to an integer. But we know that if they enter something that is non-numeric, it's going to cause an error when we try to convert it to an integer. So what we're going to do before that is we're just going to take that whole string and we're going to say, is that numeric? Because if a string is numeric, it's likely to be okay to convert to an integer. So we're checking before we do the conversion. And if it's not numeric, then we say that's not a valid number. And maybe we ask them again. You can see here, we've got them in a while true. So if the number is numeric, it'll convert it and then it'll break out of the loop. Otherwise, it'll say that's not a number and it'll say enter a number. So it'll keep going until we get them to give us the right thing. So that is an example of look before you leap. The other method is based on the saying it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. And basically, the idea for easier to ask for forgiveness is if we get an error, what do we do? And there's a specific set of keywords that allow us to handle an error after it happens. And here is that same code, but now it is using what's called easier to ask for permission. And what we're using to do that are two keywords that always go together, try and accept. Try says, we're going to try this code out and see what happens. Maybe it'll have an error, maybe it won't. If it doesn't have an error, it will execute this block and it'll skip accept. Kind of like an if else, right? So we'll try this. If it has an error, which is also called an exception, then it does this. So in this while true loop, we're going to ask them to enter a number. If they enter digits, then it'll be okay. This won't cause an error. If they enter anything that's not numeric, then it's going to hit this line. It's going to cause an error, and it's going to jump straight to here and do this. It will not execute this because this is where the error happened. So it'll jump over the rest of it and go straight to accept. If there's no error, then it will continue, hit the break statement, and it'll break out of the loop, and that'll be it. So those two pieces of code work exactly the same way, but using different techniques. There's actually an error that's generated here. And we can actually print out what that error is, but it won't crash the program. So you won't get that red text at the bottom that happens when you have an error in your program. It'll just do this and keep running. There will be an error there, but you've handled that error is what it's called. You're actually handling that error and doing something productive with it.